Hello once again YouTube, Chris the Nightbringer here bringing you some new Eden Fleetworks, and it has been a while since we did a new Eden Fleetworks video. So, today is a bit of a special occasion, not that special, but I figured it would be a good time to do one of these since, well, it's just appropriate, and I'll explain right now. So basically, EVE Online is about to get an update, and they're going to phase out the model for one of their more larger ships. It's a carrier. It is the Chimera, as the video title suggests, and they're going to be introducing a new design for that ship in the upcoming week or so, depending on when this video is posted. It's pretty much set in stone, and I don't think they can change it or backtrack on it now, despite the criticisms they've gotten for that, but I figured we would take a look at the old model in StarMade at full scale and do a capital ship showcase. Now, it has been a while since I did a capital ship showcase. This will be the second one ever. The first one was the Naglfar, which is a Minmatar dreadnought. And that was clocking in at something around 5,000 meters tall, or something around there. This particular ship is approximately half that size. It is 2,574 meters in length. It's a big one. It's a Caldari carrier, if you didn't know. And we'll be talking a little bit about the Caldari. We'll be talking about what this ship is capable of fielding in terms of fighter drones. I am currently sitting in a fighter drone. This is what you are looking at. This is a Dragonfly. I have modified it so that our view is unobstructed from the core. And basically, this is the type of fighter that is launched from this carrier that we are about to take a look at. So, I am, real quick, going to show you a full view of this thing. It will drop my frames significantly, which is why we will not be doing the entire video with the entire thing in view. We will be looking at it in bite-sized chunks to get the most frames at all times, while also showing off sections of the hull and taking a look at how it's structured. So, real quick, we're going to zoom out, and there it is. I'm at like 9 FPS. I can only hold this for a few seconds before I kind of get worried that my computer is going to crash StarMade or Fraps. There it is. And that is the Chimera next to one of its drones. We'll be taking a look at a few other drones in a second, or a few moments. So, on the right side of the screen, you should see an overlay of the ship. That is a top-down view of the ship. We are looking down on the ship, and you will see a little indicator showing you where I am in relation to this thing as we travel along it, so you can kind of get a grasp of how long we've been moving alongside this thing. So we're going to kind of take a coast along this side of this ship and look at some of the structures and the details and talk about the ship. First things first, I am pretty positive that the bridge is suspended over the bow of the ship. And you'll see that there's quite a defined shape going on here. We have this really broad structure in the front to the right of the screen, possibly obscured by that overlay, so let me kind of maybe get that more centered. But certainly a defining feature of this ship. It's like a massive water-based ship, right? In space. It's like the bow of this thing, and I feel like any other small ship that gets impacted by the side of this thing while it's just like traveling through space, it would just annihilate anything in its path. Right here, I believe, is the bridge section, the bridge area. I can't 100% confirm that because CCP, the people who design EVE, don't really release details like that. They have released information like that on their newer concepts, but this is an old ship, so there is no way of telling you where anything is other than the engines and the drone base. So that's about as far as that goes. You'll notice I also put blue lights all over the ship, and excuse me, that basically represents where I'm seeing lights on the model in EVE Online. So those are probably windows. In some cases they might just be decorative lighting to give it a sense of scale. On a lot of even the smaller ships, there's a lot of lighting in a similar fashion, but it's pretty much impossible that there would be that many decks on a smaller ship, so they use this as a decorative element to kind of imply that the ship is massive, even if it's just some light on the surface of the vessel. So you can kind of get an idea as to how dense this ship is, because on this ship, it's certainly believable that these could all be decks, and that this is how dense the interior of this ship actually is. So as we move back, you'll see that it gets quite bulky. There's a lot of angles and slopes leading up to that central structure. There's some flat planes that run atop and below that central bulky front end that run the length of the ship for a good distance, if not the entire thing. You can see here there is like no place that is safe from having windows or lights on the surface of this thing. I mean, some places it really doesn't make sense. For example, over here, I don't imagine this would be the place where a lot of windows are, but I guess that's just how they wanted to design it. Of course, this is an older model, and it's definitely outdated in terms of the current EVE Online aesthetic. They're going for a more modern look with their spaceship redesigns, and we will see that when we do the capital ship showcase for the updated version of this. You'll see that the window placement probably makes way more sense, and that it's not just dotted all over the place, just because they want to make it look big. Here we can see a pretty good placement for windows, and there's a few other placements where the windows make sense to me. Most of the side here looks pretty good. There's a bit on some angled sections over here that we can see that, to me, doesn't exactly make sense. This looks like it's more mixed in with mechanical exposed machinery, mechanical greeble, so I'm guessing those might actually just be lights and not actually be windows. And I think that's fine, but you can see this, it's pretty dense. It's all over the place, these windows, these lights, whatever they are all over the place. You can see there's a lot of structure to this thing, some huge angled wedges over there that kind of imply that there's some sort of structural support holding up that top bit. Whether that's true or not, you don't really know. Like I said, they don't release the information as to what's inside the ships. There's no cross sections. They don't really point it out. You know, here's the bridge, here's drone flight control, whatever. They don't really do that very often. So it's a bit of a downside, but hey, what are you gonna do? So, as far as Caldari go, they are, as I understand it, the most technologically superior race in EVE. Maybe Concord outdoes them, but as far as the 4 major races of the EVE Online factions go, Caldari is definitely at the top, at least in a certain few areas. They use missile systems on their ships a lot, they use railguns a lot on their ships, and possibly also hybrid weapons. If you don't know what a hybrid weapon is in terms of EVE Online, basically it's a combination of a charged particle in a shell casing. And I don't really know if it, like, performs nuclear fusion or nuclear fission on impact. I know there are nuclear warhead weapons in EVE. I don't really know if that's the case with hybrid weapons, if that's what they're doing, but, you know, it's like they have neutron particles or something inside a shell casing, and when it's launched it melts the casing so that it's just launching, like, pure neutrons at you or something. I don't know. That's, like, the gist of what I understood when I read the descriptions for those types of weaponry in EVE. They don't really focus on hybrids as much as the Galente. They focus more on railguns, which is, you know, magnetically accelerated rounds, and they also focus on missile systems a lot. So they focus on those pretty much. Well, I guess not exclusively, but they're well known for that. They also have the best shields in the game. In all of the EVE, out of all of the EVE races, they have the best shielding systems in the game. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, I think one thing that speaks to their technological superiority is the fact that they use gravimetric sensors. Now, in terms of real life, gravimetric sensors have only just become a useful technology with the detection of gravity waves from black holes across the universe. That's a real technology, but to put that on a spaceship and use it to track the trajectory and velocity and the mass and the size and all that other stuff of a flying spaceship or any other debris in space is freaking crazy. That's basically what they do. They use gravity sensors to detect and track their targets. It's nuts. So, that should speak to how technologically superior the Caldari are. If we go... Wow, I just failed the English language. If we come over here, you can see there's a little bit of a trench, and this is actually where the fighter drones launch from. So we've got 2 hangars. One of them is probably for the return journey, the return landing, and one of them is probably for launching. I'm going to bet that the longer tube on this side is for launching drones, because it extends farther into the ship. It doesn't really matter, it could go either way. I think it would be nicer if, well, I guess maybe they need landing space? I don't know. It could go either way, like I said. The way I see it is they've got to land in one spot and return in a different spot, because if they have traffic going both ways in the same hangar opening, that'd probably cause problems. So one of these is definitely for landing and one of these is definitely for launching. And you can see the size of the drones, the fighters, in this little trench here. That one, of course, is the Dragonfly. And I did a little bit of math to figure out just how many of these Dragonfly fighter drones could fit inside a Caldari Chimera carrier. That's a tongue twister. So, and of course, a lot of this is just going to be because, like, arbitrary values that don't really mean anything, and it's basically just balancing for EVE Online's systems, right? But based on those numbers, I can figure out how many drones this ship is capable of fielding. So, for one squadron, there are 9 fighters, and you launch one squadron per, well, how do I word this? You have 3 squadrons that you can launch at a time of fighter drones, and I think a maximum of 3 anyway from the Chimera, so you can have 27 ships in the air, right? That make up 3 squadrons, right? One squadron is 1,000 cubic meters of volume, and the Chimera can hold 55,000 cubic meters of fighter drones in its fighter drone bay. Which means if we multiply that one squadron's worth of volume by the maximum amount of volume it can support. I'm wording this terribly, and I apologize. Basically, I did the math. This thing, this ship, this carrier can hold 495 of these fighters that are sitting in front of me, which is absolutely nuts. But when we take a look at the inside, yeah, I think it actually could. I think there would be multiple decks, you know, a few elevators that can move things around, shuffle around the fighters, and they'd probably be expendable like TIE fighters. I mean, think about that. The Empire doesn't care about throwing TIE fighters at the rebels in the Star Wars universe. I don't think Caldari or Capsuleers in EVE Online are worrying too much about throwing these fighters at their enemies either. So there's probably multiple decks dedicated to the maintenance and upkeep of these fighters and just storing them, because you can only launch 3 fighter squadrons at a time, as far as I understand. Of course, that's possibly something that can change based on what your skills are in EVE. You could possibly throw more squadrons into the air at once. I have no doubt of that. But the baseline value is 3 squadrons, 27 fighters at once in the air. Of course, that changes based on the type of fighter you're using, because they take up different amounts of space, but this is a regular fighter drone, and that's the math I did for that. So, there's that. You can store almost 500 of those ships inside this thing. Absolutely nuts. Absolutely, but it does give credit to its name. This thing is a carrier, and it can launch a massive force at you if it needs to. So we're going to continue down the length of this ship and make our way towards the engines. And I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but I didn't put the blue lights all over the rest of the ship after the halfway point, because it was too many lights, too many windows on the model, and it would have taken me like a couple hours to put them all on there just for this video, and I don't think it was necessary to do that. So we are going to continue down, and you can see it is getting very thin towards the rear, and it's got a lot of angled shapes, and this is something that the Caldari do, is they got a really sleek design, but they incorporate a lot of these weird, chunky angles on their old designs, and personally, I don't like it. I don't like the chunky, angled wedge shapes that they throw all over their ships, and we will see a drastic change in form when we take a look at the new version. Some people hate the new version of this ship, the new redesign. Some people love it, myself included, and I can't really wait to show you that redesign, because I think it's a massive improvement. There's probably going to be people in my video comment section that disagree with me, but we'll just have to wait and see, and get a feel for what that's all about when we get to it. Right here is one of the engine pods along the side. As you can see, there's no actual thruster nozzle detail or anything on this thing. That's how outdated this thing is. There's no like thrust nozzle modeled into the actual ship. It's just a texture on the side, which is just unfortunate, but it's the reality of using or having these old models in the game. Still, I don't know when this was last updated visually, but it could have been, you know, 5+ years since now, from now, whatever you want to say. And of course, in the back we have more proper engines. These are apparently mag pulse thrusters. I have no idea what that means. I'm assuming it's some sort of magnetic pulse technology that pushes the ship along. Another really crazy, outlandish science fiction technology that the Caldari seem to have. I don't know. It's a bit weird. And I looked it up on Google, mag pulse, and I could not find a single thing that even resembled a real technology. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I just didn't look hard enough. But there are the engines. The fighter that I'm in could definitely sit inside the nozzle of one of these. Let's see. Let's get this bad boy in here. Oh yes. We could fit a number of them in here, actually. So, that's that. We're gonna take a trip to the front of this thing. We are going to sacrifice some frames, and I apologize if this is unbearable. It's unbearable for me too, don't worry. We're gonna fly alongside this thing. Look at that. It's absolutely nuts. There's a little fighter next to it. I think I might be getting a little close. Insane. Absolutely insane. So, I don't know when the next video will be coming out where I get a chance to showcase the new and improved version of this. But, that update for me comes out in a week, so that it could be a week before we get that video, but stay tuned, we'll be taking a look at that. Also, real quick, just so you guys know what is up with other stuff, we will also be getting a new model for the Cormorant in the same update. Now, this is the Cormorant. It is a ship I released a long time ago. It has a full interior. It does not have full systems in it, but it does have a full interior. You can, if you are a recent subscriber or haven't seen this, you can check out my past videos where I went into depth as to, you know, the design and functionality of this thing in StarMade. But this is another ship that is getting redesigned with the update, and we will be taking a look at the comparison between this model and the new version when that comes out as well. And that will be its own video. Other than that, I have to say I haven't done much with the EVE Online ships. As much as I would love to work on EVE Online ships, I just can't. I'm not motivated enough to work on EVE Online ships. That doesn't mean I'm really going to stop doing it, but at the moment I'm kind of more interested in Star Wars ships, and you probably should have guessed that by looking at my KDY series, Quat Drive Yards, however you want to pronounce it, I don't know. Whatever tickles your fancy. But that is where I'm currently at with StarMade builds and StarMade stuffs. I'm going to be focusing on those ships, those builds, Star Wars ships and builds. And we will be taking a look at some pretty cool stuff pretty soon, I hope. I am very close to being done with a Corvette for the Empire. And it's really detailed. I put a lot of work into it, and I cannot wait to show it off. And we'll see where that goes. But for now, I think what you can expect from my channel, since I haven't been posting content regularly, is Alien Isolation videos until that entire game is finished and posted on my channel, and maybe ship reviews. Ship reviews are certainly easier to do than working on builds, and it certainly fills the gap between those episodes where I talk about my own builds. So I think maybe ship reviews will be coming back. I've got a few ready to get posted, and of course I've got a massive list of ships that I would like to go through and talk about that I have not filmed yet. So that is what you can expect in the future for me. Oh gosh, oh gosh. I'm trying to not kill my computer, but it's too much. It is too much. So we're just gonna get a nice shot of the front end of this thing, I think, and that's what we will call it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more. Leave your feedback down below I definitely want to hear what you guys think of this ship and the potential video coming up where we take a look at the redesign. I shouldn't say potential, it's definitely happening. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.